This time around, Robocop Rogue City for the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. Robocop Rogue City is a first-person shooter set in a semi-open world environment depending on whatever mission you're partaking in. Of course, this is set in the old Detroit, the ruins of Detroit, following the events of Robocop 2, the movie. You take control of the automated technical marvel that is the former Alex Murphy turned Robocop. And immediately you discover just how powerful it feels to be Robocop, as he is a tank of a character to play as. Though he does move a little bit faster, especially when you are able to sprint, than expected, considering the previews and even the demo. Initially, Robocop only has his Auto 9 gun that can be upgraded and modified thanks to boards that you can find either when going throughout certain missions and even completing particular missions or side missions. And with these boards, you can actually upgrade weapon reload speed, damage, and if you use the right paths, you are able to unlock certain special abilities for that gun. Like, for example, one board will allow you to have automatic reload, so you never have to reload. Now, the Auto 9 has infinite ammo, but depending on the board, you may have to reload. You won't have the ability to just shoot continuously. Or, one of the more impressive things when it comes to shooting enemies, dismembering enemies in gratuitous fashion. The level of gore that is associated with this game is very much like the source material. Now, you don't just have the Auto 9 pistol, you can actually pick up weapons that are dropped by enemies that you kill. Robocop does have some special abilities, including the ability to utilize a temporary shield, punch enemies, grab enemies and throw them. You can grab barrels, explosive barrels, and throw them to cause, of course, explosions. Robocop can utilize a rechargeable dash that is good for closing distance and once again grabbing enemies if you're able to line it up properly. He can also slow down time. And a lot of these abilities are connected to the skill tree. Now, the skill tree is very straightforward. You get skill points by gaining experience points. If you hit the threshold of 1,000 experience points, you get a skill point. You also get skill points as a reward for completing certain missions or discovering certain hidden items. And with these skill points, you can unlock not only special abilities that help you in combat, but also dialogue options. For example, during a bank heist, having armor up to level 4 allowed for Robocop to disarm the bomb that was attached to the bank manager without harming anyone else. But without this, you would have to go through a minigame of trying to figure out how to defuse the bomb properly. It encourages and incentivizes the player to utilize those skill points and plan accordingly, because you never know when you may need a particular skill or ability at a certain level. The RPG elements go beyond just skill trees and upgrading the Auto 9, as you're able to enter Old Detroit during certain sections of the game and try to solve crimes, try to stop some would-be graffiti artists, and even help a down-on-his-luck drug addict turned narc. You will see how Detroit and the people of Old Detroit treat Robocop. If you try to be as nice as possible and understanding as possible to the people, to the citizens, they will show their gratitude. They will help you out. They will actually put murals up on the walls of Robocop and what he means to the people of Old Detroit. Now, this game was developed by Teon, which was the same developers behind Terminator Resistance, which was a very solid first-person shooter as well that did a lot of justice to the source material. And this game is no different. The characters that you've grown to know and love, if you watched the old Robocop movies, these characters will be very familiar to you, right down to the voice actors reprising their roles. The kind of 80s B-movie style dialogue and exchanges is perfect for this type of game and perfect for this type of interactions between the characters. But the same can't be necessarily said about the enemies, as they're very samey, both in dialogue and presentation, with the big bad being what you would expect from a 1980s movie, without much of a personality to really differentiate him from any other archetype from that era. While the story is pretty much what you would expect from a Robocop experience, one of the best things about the original Robocop movies that has been translated into the video game experience is Alex Murphy's flashbacks, his cracking memories that causes glitches to Robocop as he moves throughout certain parts of the story, where you don't know exactly what's about to happen next, if you're going to go into an enemy ambush, or if it's just a story-driven walking portion. One of the big things that must be noted, and a very big positive when it comes to completion of this game, not only it being relatively short at around 15 to 17 hours, give or take, depending on how much you want to complete, but also after every major section, there's a rating that rewards the player for completing side missions, optional missions, with the rating reaching up to level grade A. Now, with the grading system comes also extra skill points. The higher the grade, the more skill points you get. And it also must be noted that they have done a pretty good job of allowing the player to move around different areas and just stumble upon side missions without hiding them so diligently. A majority of the time, Robocop will encounter people that are responsible for activating side missions, just trying to go to the next main mission, making it a lot more player friendly in terms of trying to figure out where to go to next, what to accomplish, and how to get the best grade possible. Technically, the game does have some rough edges. Beyond some graphical glitches, especially when trying to shoot from one angle to another, or switching between characters during dialogue exchanges, some of the aiming can be off at times, especially with the crosshairs deciding it wants to move without the player's actual interaction. And easily the biggest gameplay flaw when it comes to enemies is how spongy the regular enemies are. While some can take a headshot and live to tell about it, others will die after the first shot. And then there are others that will take multiple body shots right to the chest and keep on coming at you and still shooting. While it's understandable from a narrative perspective why they can sustain so much damage because of the drug nuke that is introduced in Robocop 2, fusing and fueling their ambitions and actions, it still makes it for a situation where it feels very spongy to try to kill an enemy, even if it's just a random grunt. Another issue when it comes to technical problems is the fact that there will be certain missions where things just glitch out. Doors that you're supposed to be able to open won't open. Items that you're supposed to grab for the mission continuation do not appear. And usually you have to restart the checkpoint and then everything will start working. But depending on how far along the checkpoint is, you may have to go through a lot of enemies or a lot of a section to get to that point where the game messed up. But a majority of the time, those glitch moments happen maybe 2 to 3 minutes after that checkpoint. Overall, Robocop Rogue City is just like Terminator Resistance, a surprise hit. It's a game that doesn't try to do too much different from what it's set out to do. It's a first-person shooter that tries to play into the role of Robocop, and that's it. It tries to embrace what made the first movie so spectacular, the second movie arguably okay, and a first-person shooting video game, fun to play. Now, it must be stated that the game is kind of high when it comes to the price. At $60, it's still a really, really good game. And depending on who you are as a player, it may be well worth your money, but a majority of players will probably feel that this is one of those games that you can wait to play when it's on sale, maybe $35, $40 instead. And having an old gen price, even at the highest end, doesn't make it the most viable option when it comes to buying this game. If you're a fan of the franchise and a fan of first-person shooters, more than likely you will enjoy this from beginning to end, and $60 may not sound that much for you. You may get your full money's worth. But for gamers who maybe want a little bit more, should wait until it's on sale for $35 to $40 to really get your money's worth. But no matter if you pick it up at full price or when it's on sale, there's nothing more satisfying than proving to a bunch of high-strung old Detroit cops that Robocop is the most efficient bearer of justice.
Like you're all that impressive. With all that fancy tech, a brick would know how to shoot.